Hey guys, sorry for the background noise. This is a video I really wish I didn't have to make. I'm not in character. I'm not Ragnarok. I'm not Chase, the host of LBYW. I am just Chase. This video isn't scripted or anything. This is just coming straight from my heart. So, on July 3rd, I had lost a good friend because she had lost her battle with mental health. I had given myself a few days here, and I'll probably fumble like that throughout this video. This video is going to be unedited. I wasn't entirely sure how I wanted to make this video because I didn't want to record this and make it seem like it was about myself, but I thought about it, and I think it'll give more weight as to just how special of a person she was. And I gave myself a few days after the funeral to hopefully get through this video without tears, but we'll see. So, when I was in high school, I didn't have a great time at all, honestly. I've always been somewhat of a shy person and had slight anxiety with things. But during my junior year, that's when it really got bad. And if anybody from the school is watching this, we're all adults now, so it's embarrassing stories, but honestly, I don't really care anymore. I had a big crush on the foreign girl in our class, and pretty much the whole school knew that. So, during our homecoming of junior year, a few of the guys, I wasn't really friends with them. They kept coming up to me and were like, "Hey man, you should go ask her to dance and whatnot." I kept telling them no. They did that like 5, 6 times, and then eventually after that, they were like, "Well, we're going to go ask for you," and I told them they better not, whatnot. And then they came back and they were like, "Well, we asked her. You just have to go up. She said she'll dance with you." I didn't believe them at all because they always lied. But I found out after she had left that they actually told the truth. So that was pretty devastating. After that, I was in the corner pretty much just moping. I had a friend next to me the whole time. And then I finally got back up and was trying to rejoin everybody. And I had my legs grabbed and I was dragged into the middle of the crowd. My hoodie had went over my head, so it was pitch black. I couldn't see anything at all. And I was trying to grab on, but it was the gym floor, so there was nothing to grab onto. I even tried to grab people's legs. And then I finally was let go, and I was able to pull my hoodie over. And I was in the middle of the crowd, everybody looking at me. And they were just trying, "Oh, just dance." That was my first ever panic attack. I had no clue what was going on. All I had felt was fear, and so I ran out of the school. And right there, when I had walked out of that school, I had thoughts of just running away. I didn't want to be there anymore, and I just wanted to be anywhere but there. I chose against running away. I went home, and tears and everything, because, if you've ever had a panic attack, you probably know exactly what it feels like. My anxiety went from way down here to just exponential. And I was pretty much afraid to do anything after that point. I didn't like talking about anything that I liked because I was pretty much the butt end of the joke at the school. That anything I liked was always used against me. Even this channel, when we started it and I was going to school, like I would always get picked on for it, and it wasn't easy at all. And junior year was probably one of my darkest hours. And even with my family, who I love very much, I felt very much alone. I didn't feel happy. I was depressed. I wasn't diagnosed with it yet, but I was very much depressed. And even though I had chose not to run away that night, I still had thoughts about it in the back of my head to run away from it all, which obviously I never did. And it didn't get better, it just got worse every day. And then, as I was working at the nursing home, I started becoming friends with Sistine. She was one of the sweetest people I've ever met in my life. And she was just kind and genuinely caring. So, as the school year went, me and her were just friends, and we would just, work together and talk and all that stuff. And I still had the crush on the foreign girl, and it was my first prom ever, so I wanted to ask her to it. But things happened. COVID happened, so our prom was canceled temporarily. So I couldn't ask her, and even if I could, I just could not bring myself to do it because I was way too anxious to do it. So when prom was brought back, I'd asked Sistine if she wanted to go, and she was so excited. She didn't think anybody would invite her to prom. And she told me that, oh, nobody's going to invite me to prom. And she was just really excited when I had asked her. Yep, definitely not going to make it through this video without some tears. So, when me and her started figuring out our prom stuff, figuring out our colors and stuff. We worked with a guy, and he used to work with flowers and stuff. So we actually asked him if he can make our corsagers and whatnot. So he ended up making them, and they were really good. I wish I still had mine, but that was 5 years ago, so I don't. And my friend Caitlin, she also had hers made through him because I had asked him if he can make her and her date a pair as well. As far as I can remember, I might remember wrong. And then Sistine just invited me to church game night. I'm not a religious person. I don't go to church and whatnot. I'm not atheist, but more agnostic. But I still went to them. And my first game night, she took me to her church, obviously, with the Peace Church. And I had never been in there. So she was so excited. She tour me around the church. She was so excited to do that because she loved that church. And the final place me and her stopped at was the chapel balcony, and we were just standing up there looking down at the chapel, and she was talking about how beautiful the chapel was, and she had asked me if I would like to go down there. I had declined. I can't really remember why, but we went back to the games and we had a fun night. And she had asked me if I would like to go to the church camp. And I said, yeah. I had misunderstood. I didn't know I was supposed to bring my own pillows and blankets and stuff. So the only thing I had with me was the jacket and clothes I was wearing. But that church game night was really fun. It was a new experience, and I got to meet a good friend there, and it was really fun. I remember we watched a movie. I think it was about a psychopath or sociopath, and she had really liked that movie. Um, just and then pretty much just that. We just continued being friends, and prom night, I remember being so nervous because obviously everybody is there. The juniors, the seniors, any underclassmen they had invited, like me. And I remember we were getting our prom photos, and it was just me and her were getting them next to the fence on her farm, and her donkeys were coming up behind, and we were just laughing about it. And then we had a bunch of other friends and their dates there, and we were just having a good time and everything. And when we got to the actual prom, I remember we were walking down the aisle, I guess, and I was just nervous. I have pictures, and you can see me making a big, goofy grin because I was just extremely nervous walking in front of everybody. But it was fun. It was nerve-wracking, but it was fun. And I remember I'm not a dancer at all, but she didn't really give me much of a choice. I was dancing whether I wanted to or not, but I'm glad she did because it was really fun. She was teaching me how to slow dance and all that, and I have videos and stuff, which I know I said I wouldn't edit this video, but I might put some of the photos and stuff. Unfortunately, I never really got any other photos or anything outside of prom with her, which I really wish I did. So then, senior year, we were just working together, talking and stuff. I really wasn't like going that much to the camp stuff anymore, but she was making me very happy because of her genuine kindness when I had, at the point in my life where I had felt my loneliest. Then fast forward a bit, I had graduated, I'm in college now, and I had cut contact with everybody from that school except for one person, and unfortunately it wasn't Sistine. It was just a good friend that I actually trusted from that school, because I had major trust issues because I didn't know who I could trust, because everybody at that school it felt fake, which is part of why I felt so alone at the time, because I'm a people pleaser. So I just did everything that they pretty much made me out to be, and they'd poke fun at me and stuff like that. And so I cut contact with them all when I had left. And during college, I was very happy. I didn't have to deal with those people anymore. I didn't talk to them anymore. That school was out of my life. My issues were out of my life. One thing I forgot to mention, after prom night, after homecoming night, when I had ran home and I was having my panic attack to my mom, she had to give me some of her anxiety medicine to help me calm down because my panic attack was just that bad. And after that night, I had to go on my own medication, my own antidepressants. That's just how bad my depression got, my loneliness, and everything. But I still had that happiness from my family, which at the time it didn't really feel like a lot. And then when I was surrounded by a bunch of people at the time that I thought were just fake. So having Sistine be the one person there that was genuinely kind and I knew I could trust her. In college, after I was happy and all that, I stopped taking my medication because I didn't need it anymore. I was happy. I wasn't at the time I thought I wasn't depressed anymore and whatnot, like I had beat it. And then as time went on, it just came back and it kept getting worse. And in the back of my head, the first person I thought of as it was getting worse was Sistine, not my family, because I always talk to my family about issues, but it's always the same thing over and over. So I wanted to reach out to Sistine and I wanted to ask her for help. The one thing I did not do was tell her that about depression or anything like that, so she didn't even know she was helping me fight that. So in the back of my head, I just wanted to reach out to her and I wanted to ask her for help. I was going through this again. I felt lonely again. I felt sad. It was just, but I never reached out because I didn't want to be a burden to her. She was such a happy person. I didn't want to put my struggles on her shoulder, which is why I never told her the first time she helped me. So I had never reached out to her, and I always thought I should just text her just to start talking to her again, but I didn't do that either. Fast forward more, I started reconnecting with a few people, talking to some people again, and I still thought I should text her and start seeing how she is and stuff like that, and at the same time still thinking I want to ask her for help. Then fast forward to a year or two, and I had started seeing her post stuff about depression and everything like that. And I didn't believe she was talking about herself because she just was the happiest person, and I just couldn't believe her, of all people, was dealing with that. So I never reached out to talk to her about those issues. And then fast forward to July 3rd of this year, and I was upstairs in my mom's room, and my mom asked me, "Isn't Sistine the girl that you went to prom with?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" Not thinking much of it. And she's like, "Well, why does this post sound like she passed away?" I had snatched her phone out of her hand because I wanted to read what it was about. And I couldn't believe it. So I rushed to my friend Caitlin, who I hadn't talked to in years as well. I was like, what is this about? Please tell me this is not real. She said, unfortunately, it is, and she passed. So I asked her what had happened. And she told me, I won't go into detail about it, but like I said, she had lost her battle with mental health. And I just couldn't believe it. That Steve of all people. And so it's been a very rough week. I've just been going through it, trying to cope with it. And I was partially blaming myself for never reaching out to her and trying to help. I mean, even now, after the funeral, I still regret not doing it. And I don't know. I know everybody has different opinions on like spiritual stuff and stuff like that. But personally, and for me, I believe spirits continue on and they can visit you and whatnot and linger if they choose to and whatnot. So, my first day back to work after finding out, because I had called out the day right after I had found out the news, because I couldn't think of anything. Like, my mind was racing 1,000,000 miles per hour. Just, how is this true? How is this real? How is this real life? And so, I went back and I was walking through work, trying my hardest not to think about it. I had clocked in and whatnot. I went up to one of my friends at work. He was like, are you okay? And I broke down. I had told him what had happened, and I broke down. So, me and him were talking for like 2 hours, and he was just helping me through it. Because he had similar experiences. And my manager came, or like had just arrived to start her shift, and she saw me and him out there talking, and she had to deal with it too. So she sat out there for a while and helped, but you know, she's a manager, so she had to get in there and start doing her work. She'd asked me if I wanted to go home, because I probably wasn't going to make it through that day at work, but I stayed there because if I wasn't going to make it through that day, who's to say I would make it through any other day after? Another coworker came out, and he was making sure I was alright and everything like that. And then eventually I went back into work and just started going through the day. And I believe she had visited me that day because I was standing on the line waiting for orders to run. And my mind's still racing 1,000,000 miles per hour, thinking of why her? I can't believe it. Why didn't I message her and reach out? And then my heart jumped into big wave of happiness just hit me out of nowhere. It's hard to, like, it, I'm pretty sure that was her, and she felt my pain, and visited to make sure to let me know it's alright. And after I had that rush of happiness, the whole workplace just seemed a lot more cheerier, or whatever, than usual. Like, usually the cooks, they play their music and stuff. Usually it's metal or rock or white girl music, but that day, like, for some reason, it was just so much more cheery. They were blasting their music the loudest it's ever been. It was nothing but feel-good songs and stuff like that. Everybody was just happy and cheerful, which usually at the workplace, people aren't, I mean, they're not grumpy, but, like, just, it's another day at work, pretty much. The day it was cheerful. And I believe she was just using the workplace to help cheer me up. After I'd left, I was struggling to sleep the entire week because that's all I thought about was just images of her and just thinking about it and having all these regrets, not reaching out to her, not messaging her. And then 2 days ago at the funeral, my mom was taking me to the funeral, and we were just driving. And I've listened to Five Finger Death Punch for a long time because my mom listened to them. But a song I had never heard from them came on the radio as we were driving. It was Brighter Side of Grey. And it was like she was directly speaking to me. Before that song came on, my mom turned the radio down so that we could talk. So it was quiet. But I was just listening to the lyrics. And if you've never listened to the song, I'll put it in the description of this video and highly recommend that you listen to it. And I believe that was her paying another visit, and because that song just, like, pretty much described exactly the whole situation. And so I had turned up the radio to listen to it, and I was crying the entire song, and it was hard. So we got to the funeral. I forgot to mention this, but the last time I had seen her in person was at the college, and the college was holding an event where you could plant little succulents in a pot. So I was sitting in the chair in the corner away from everybody, and she came up to me with her succulent in the hand, just being her happy, cheerful self. And so that's the last memory I had of her. I was trying to think of flowers to get for the funeral, and I couldn't think of anything. So I had bought a little succulent, and I brought it to the funeral. And I'm not sure if she remembered that, but I hope it gave her a chuckle. But the funeral was surprisingly not happy, but it was easier than I thought it would be. definitely gave me clarity, and my mind had cleared. It stopped racing with all these thoughts, and before the memorial had actually started, I walked up to her urn and I talked to her and I told her thank you because I never got to. And so yeah, we are we're going to dedicate the rest of the entirety of this season to Sistine because she was a very special person. Even it's still hard, and it's still unbelievable. It still feels like a bad dream, and I still have those regrets of not reaching out, not texting, and keeping in touch with her, because she helped me out of the darkness without even realizing it, and I couldn't help her out of the darkness like she did for me, so I regret that. But it's easier to think of all these regrets than it is to tell myself she doesn't want me to regret it. So, I'm a Miss You Sistene. But, like I said, the entire rest of this season is dedicated to her. We are going to put a picture of her at the beginning of every episode, dedicate that episode to her. So, I just wanted to let you guys know, and that's where I'm going to leave it off. I'll see you guys later.